What is up, agents? Welcome back to the channel. It's Dwerewolf Gaming. All right, so we got a Striker's Hazard Pro build for those agents who wanted to see a Striker Hazard Pro build on Legendary difficulty. Overall, this gun is fully maxed out with a weapon expertise of 30%, and that third attribute is 10% damage to target out of cover. This gun is amazing primarily for the talent. It's called Payment in Kind, and dealing damage to enemies as a stack of plus 2% critical hit damage up to 100 stacks, lasting 10 seconds. So you get the 100 stacks, that'll be 200% increase in critical hit damage. Keep in mind, on reload will apply a 10-second bleed to yourself, which deals 0.5% armor damage per stack. Now the mods that come with this gun you cannot change, so keep that in mind, agent. As far as the secondary weapon, we did have the Thorn shotgun equipped, but agents uses every secondary weapon you prefer. I do recommend you use the quick step pistol for the talent sport mode. You basically get 20% increase in movement speed. Keep in mind it does not stack with any other movement speed bonuses. This will help you get out of tight situations, especially on a legendary content. All right, so we do have two pieces of the Y'all Gear set. We do have the name mask. It's called the Hollow Man mask, and two pieces gives you 10% hazard protection plus 10% weapon damage. For the core attribute, that will be rolled to an armor core, agents. So keep that in mind. And the attributes, we do have 14% health damage, 10% hazard protection, and 6% critical hit chance. The chest is the second piece of the Y'all Gear set. And for the core attribute, we do have an armor core, and the attributes, we do have only the 6% critical hit chance, another 10% hazard protection mod, and a 12% critical hit damage attribute. For the talent, it is a builder rate, and critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. This stacks up to 20 times, so that is 20% increase in additional weapon damage that you can get when you have all 20 stacks. The holster, this is the first piece of the Striker's Battle Gear set. Two pieces gives you 15% increase in weapon handling. Three pieces gives you 15% increase in rate of fire. And when you have on all four pieces, you get Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. When you have 100 stacks, that is 65% increase in weapon damage. Keep in mind, one stack is lost per second between 0 and 50 stacks, and two stacks are lost per second between 50 and 100. The core attribute, we do have an armor core, and the attribute we do have is a hazard protection. The knees is the second piece of the Striker set. We do have a core attribute being a weapon damage core, and an attribute is a 10% hazard protection. For the gloves, it is the third piece. We do have the armor core for the core attribute, and again another 10% hazard protection mod or attribute. And the backpack is the fourth piece of the Striker set, agents, and we do have the core attribute being an armor core. We do have an attribute being a 10% hazard protection and a 10% bleed resistance, but you can put whatever you want there, agents. I changed that out because it doesn't really make a difference in the build. The talent is called Risk Management, which increases total weapon damage gain per stack from Striker's Gamma from 6.65 to 0.90%. So basically, agents, when you have all the stacks, you'll be at the 90% additional weapon damage instead of that 65% increase in weapon damage. All right, agents, if you don't have the Hollow Man mask, I would recommend you just, like I said, I would recommend you just get the Striker's mask, Gambler's mask, but keep in mind you will lose a little bit of hazard protection on your build, but you can, like I said, you can add that bleed modifier. Now, as far as the Crusader shield, we still will be using that during the gameplay. It is at a tier 4 because it scales with the number of blue and yellow cores you have. And we will be utilizing the Reviver Hive to get a second chance when we go down. All right, as far as the modifiers, agents, the Divide and Conquer global modifier, we are getting an additional rate of fire of 16%, with the current damage bonus being 13% increase in that. Keep in mind, I don't play much retaliation, so you can get your damage up a lot more if you did take advantage and take out those control points. As far as the mod, we did use the Zealot modifier again, and basically on activation you gain 20 stacks of Zealot, which each one granting weapon damage and damage reduction per whatever level you are on your table. Keep in mind, after 10 seconds you begin losing 1 stack per second, and the stack consumption rate increases every 10 seconds, but eliminating hostiles can restore the Zealot stacks. Keep in mind, again, upon reaching 0 stacks, a damaging EMP explosion will trigger at your location, leaving you at 1 health. And for each enemy that does get hit by that explosion, you will recover armor and health as per table. So keep in mind, agents, you just look at the table and that will be what you will be getting back in return. So again, whenever this is about to discharge, you do want to make sure you are surrounded by enemies. For the passive modifiers, we do have Rupert's Tear, which when you break in any plate on the tank's armor, all other armor plates are broken. When this happens, you apply bleeding to enemies within 15 meters of the target. We do use Stepping Stone, and eliminating assaults with headshots add hollow point ammo to your magazine. Hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. And we did use batter up. Any grenade within 5 meters of you is destroyed. This does have a 30-second cooldown, and while in cooldown, the radius of your grenade bonuses are increased by 100%, but use whichever passive modifiers you prefer. So if we take a look at the weapon stats, total weapon damage 106,077. We did have a 58% critical hit chance with 72% critical hit damage. Keep in mind, when you do get the stacks from the backfire, that will go up to about 272% increase in critical hit damage. As far as the armor, 1,661,018 armor with 166,102 armor back on the kill. This build does not have any armor regeneration, so keep that in mind. If you look at our hazard protection, it is sitting right there at 80%. We do have a bleed resistance of 90%. That is because of the bleed mod we did put on the build, but all the other status effects, as you can see, agents are sitting right there at 80% on this build. So overall, that will get you through most content in this game. Now, if you don't have the chest piece, I do recommend a Striker's Gamble chest with hazard protection on it. Keep in mind, you will lose some of those hazard protection that you do have in your build. And again, if you don't have the Hollow Man mask, you can easily just use the Striker's mask and roll the hazard protection mod on that mask as well. But again, like I said, you will lose some of the hazard protection on your build. Ultimately, I do feel that 80% is the goal that you should at least be going for, because you won't really feel much of the effects from any effects such as shock, burn, or any type of status effect that the enemies can apply on you during the gameplay. Now, at 80%, those enemies, especially on legendary difficulty, they can still disrupt your skills and your revival high for a few seconds. Now, we still are utilizing the gunner class specialization, and what that does is every third reload is 50% faster. You do get 10% armor back on the kill, and the rate of fire is increased by 5% for 5 seconds after that kill. Another thing I do want to point out, agents, is that don't forget to equip the correct weapon element so you can get your bonus and 15% increase in weapon damage. Doesn't matter whichever build you're using, just make sure you do equip the correct weapon element. With that being said, agents, I decided to give you a little bit more gameplay showing a hazard striker build, because I did have some agents commenting asking would a striker's hazard build be better. Ultimately, agents, you will do more damage, but you will lose some survivability. The goal in this channel is to always give you more different options when it comes to these builds, to show you that there are other builds viable besides Striker's Gambler's gear set. You know, a lot of times when you make Striker's builds, you all, I often get a lot of comments with people complaining, oh, it's another Striker's build. With that being said, that's why I try to show you different other viable builds that still work in all content within this game, and that is why I decided to show you the same gameplay of me tackling a legendary mission using a Striker's Gamble hazard protection build. With that being said, agents, you will notice the damage isn't that significantly enough to where you will be like, oh well, I'm gonna sacrifice survivability for more damage. And a lot of these people, for some reason, they are heavily focusing on damage all the time instead of worrying about survivability. And I can honestly tell you, agents, that survivability, in my opinion, is just as important as doing damage. Don't get me wrong, the time to kill will be more if you do have more damage, but you got to ask yourself, is the trade-out really worth it? You will see in this gameplay, there will be times where if I would have had just a little bit of armor regeneration on this build, I would have had more chance of surviving. And on top of that, agents, I will be able to stay out there longer and out of cover longer because I do have more survivability on the build. Now, I will point out that I did not show the first part of this gameplay, agents, because during the time when I did start recording this, I was using a different build setup. I was actually using the Strega setup that I did show recently a while ago on the channel, and that build is very powerful. And I did clear out the first part of this legendary mission very quickly using that setup. But I did say, during the time period I just wanted to go ahead and show a little bit of gameplay of me utilizing a Striker's Pro setup, and you will see during the gameplay this build does shred. It is very fun, and overall, like I said, the only weakness is you will have less survivability. Keep in mind, the build that I did put out a couple of days ago, I had 100% immunity to everything, and I still was dishing out amazing damage as well. The only issue I did have with that build, like I said, is you will not have any resistance besides 10% resistance to explosive damage. And on legendary, that's all these enemies do, is throw a lot of explosive bombs at you basically. With that being said, there will be a part in the gameplay which you will see later down the line where I will basically not be able to reload any of my weapons. It will put me in a tight situation, but I will still manage to get through that content, that part of the gameplay. With that being said, agents, I also was about to just basically stop recording because I did have to quit the game and reload it up. And I did luck out to where they returned me to I was basically put back at the same location where that occurred. So I was able to finish the rest of this gameplay up. Now, some tips during the gameplay on Legendary Mission. I do want to point out, agents, that when I play this game and I'm not using any modifiers, I do play it differently when I'm playing on Legendary content, because I don't play as aggressively, because on Legendary content these enemies hit way harder and you will be surrounded by more enemies very quickly. So you know, as you see in the gameplay, there's areas where you see me hang back. If you do want to ever tackle this content solo, these are some of the areas that you can hang back and take your time when tackling these enemies. And I do recommend you do that whenever you're not using the modifiers, and you will still be able to complete Legendary missions solo by yourself. But like I said, I do play a little bit more aggressively when I am utilizing the Zealot modifier, because basically if you can get in there and do enough damage, you can keep that modifier going a lot longer and survive a lot longer. But keep in mind, you still are going to be at risk. Whenever that modifier ends, it drops that EMP at whatever location you're at. And if you are surrounded by enemies, if you're not surrounded by enemies, it will basically almost take you out. But if you are, you will have a chance of getting a lot of armor and health back if you are surrounded by a lot of enemies. With that being said, agents, I hope you enjoy the gameplay today, and I do want to give a big thank you to everyone that continues to support me on the channel, especially those who always have something positive to say. It really does mean a lot, agents, and I really appreciate each and every one of you for your valued time and continued support. If you're new and you like the content, please feel free to hit that like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell as well so you can stay informed whenever I do drop videos, agents. As always, agents, one last thing I do want to point out is that if your watch level is at least 1000, you will be at the baseline of doing the same damage as you see me doing in this gameplay. The only other factor that will take a part in the gameplay is your weapon expertise. The max level you can get in this game right now is 30%. So if your watch level is at least 1000, you will be at the baseline of doing the same damage that I am doing. The only other thing that will play a part is I do currently have an additional 30% increased weapon damage on my weapons. All right, one more thing I do want to mention, agents, is that I will take out some of the sections when I'm just traveling from one location to the next to keep this video from being so long. And also when we get to the final boss fight, I will take out some of those sections, guys, because that last part can be pretty long. And on top of that, agents, you know, I didn't want to make this video too long. You will see that I will be out of armor kits as well, because one issue with using the Zealot modifier is that whenever it ends, if you're not around any enemies, you will not be able to basically regenerate any armor unless you have some armor on the kill, or maybe armor regeneration on your build. And like I stated before, this striker's build does not have any armor regeneration whatsoever. We only have armor back on the kill, which is coming from the gunner class specialization. So that is one reason why I did want to mention that why it is so important, agents, when you're making your builds, to throw a little bit of survivability in these builds, such as armor back on the kill or even armor regeneration. So that is one thing I wanted to point out. You know, like I stated earlier, you know, I have a lot of people always want to compare the damage. Well, my build does way more damage than this and that, but honestly, it doesn't make a difference if you can't survive the gameplay in which you're playing in, because you have nowhere to survive the content. With that being said, agents, stay strong. Dwerewolf out.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Contact, over. Going for it.
Vital signs critical. Agent incapacitated. tight.
Hit him now! While they're passing up! Taking a shot!
Gotta be hiding.
Move around that field!
Give me some cover fire!
I'm reloading! Here you go, shithead!
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Dead! Target is low! All day. Airburst going out.
Serious trauma detected.
What's going on? Taking heavy fire. Around that field.
Immediate medical assistance needed. assistance needed. Serious trauma detected.
Enemy close.
Like the one with the steel. He's flanking our unit. My armor's for shit.
I'm pinned down.
System curtailed. System reactivated.
Target's not. Station ready. Get around that shield.
I got him! Out there! Damn it!
Vital signs critical.